All right, so we are going to practice reading this triple beam scale and writing out what kind of mass it's showing. So if you remember, these little doohickeys, they're known as just clips or brads or whatever you want to call them, are pointing to a number. Okay, so this is a pointing down arrow. Switch to these. I'm going to switch to this. So it's pointing straight down to the 70. This one is pointing to a 100. And this one is pointing just past an 8. And it is going to be important to figure out what it's pointing to, because that's going to be part of our grade. Okay, you've been learning decimals in math, and so we've got to be able to count by decimals here in science as well. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Erase that one so we can see it later. So the way to do this is I'm simply going to add these three numbers together. So before I can do that, I want to go ahead and figure out what this one is. I know this one is a 70, this one is a 100, but I need to know what this number is. So in order to do that, I have already decided to pull out a piece of this ruler, and we're going to figure out what the small lines are in between. Okay, so nice and big so we can see it. So in order to get from 4 to 5, I have all of these small dashes in between. And these small dashes, just like on your rulers, represent a fraction of the number. So we go 4 to 5, so it's one whole, but I need to know how many are in between it. So I'm going to start just counting by ones, and I need to be able to get from this, and this needs to be a 10. There's usually 10 in between. So I need to get to a 10 by the time I reach this big 5. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 5. So this will be a 0.5 because we're halfway. 0.5. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1 whole. Okay, so it's kind of 10, but it's technically 1 whole. So we're counting by 1, so that's good to know. So let's say I had this line right here is where it was pointing to. So it would be 4. So this is a 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. And then this one we already know is 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. This is hard to read, I know. 0.9, and then a 1 whole, 1.0. So this line right here is at the 0.3. So that would be a 4 and 3/10. So just 4.3. Okay? So that's how we have to figure out what this line is pointing to. So I'm going to erase all my things now. I'm going to shrink this out of the way. All right, so I know that I'm moving. I am counting by 0.1s. Okay, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to zoom. There we go. So I'm counting by 0.1. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. So here, this will be a 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is 0.5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the arrow is pointing to this very first line, which I know is a 0.1. So I have an 8.1. 8 and 1/10. So that's what my arrow is pointing to, an 8 and 1/10. All right, so now we're going to go back to our regular view. Okay, good. Nope, stop that. Bear with me. So this is pointing at an 8.1 is what we decided. I'm just going to write it right there next to it. So I need to do 70. It's a little too big. Plus 100 plus 8.1. Now here's where it's important to remember. If 70 is a whole number, it's a decimal 0. 100 is a whole number, it's decimal 0. So my 8 still needs to go in my ones column. 8 and 1/10. Okay? So now I'm going to add all this up. So 0 plus 1 equals 1. I'm going to just bring down my decimal right here. 0 plus 8 equals 8. 7 plus 0 equals 7. And then we just bring down the 1. So this triple beam scale is reading 178 and 1/10. So 0.1. So now use this video and re-answer the question on the test that is next on this Google form.